They travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gaughan Racin.
Welcome back to the Grandview Lounge here at the South Point Hotel Casino. Another edition of Gaughan Racing. Jeff Motley alongside Brendan Gaughan. And,
still stuck with us.
Yep, still stuck with us for a few more weeks. We got 3 weeks left in the regular season, and we're going to do a wrap-up show. We're going to do a wrap-up show the week after the regular season. So we can,
Breaking news for me.
Yep,
all right.
Yep, there we go. So see, you're stuck with me for yet another week before the before the year's over. But, Brendan, we're coming off of a race at Kansas that some people will say was a really exciting race. Some people were not excited about the fact that Kevin Harvick on the last 25 laps couldn't find a way around Joey Logano. Now, I'm not sure that Joey Logano knew he had a windshield for the last 25 laps of that race.
Well, look, Joey Logano has always been really good at learning how – look at what he does on restrictor plates. Joey's very good there. He knows how to control that draft. Kansas, you got to control that draft. He did a brilliant job. Look, as a driver, even Kevin got out and was like, Joey was brilliant. You know, he made enough fake moves that he think he was going to go somewhere and go somewhere else and block Kevin when he needed to, run the middle. It's really hard, and this is what people don't understand as a driver. You can be good on the bottom. You might not be good on the top. You can be good on the top, not be good on the bottom. The middle is always that realm that normally is not fast. You get to the middle, normally you slow down. Logano could run that middle super fast. He was great through the middle. He was great up top. He was good on the bottom. He could kind of go where he wanted, try to steal Kevin's air. You'd see Kevin get to him. He'd take his air. Kevin would back off. But who was coming at the end of that race?
Well, Bowman.
Who was?
Alex
if there's
Bowman.
3 more laps.
Yeah. And I think when Alex Bowman got to Harvick, it sort of started. Harvick was started playing a little bit of defense, and I think Harvick, like he kind of said, he was waiting for Joey to make a mistake, and Joey didn't make a mistake. He didn't make. I mean, he handled the lap traffic incredibly well because there was a lot of lap traffic he dealt with over those last 10 or 15 laps, and I think that was probably the surprising thing for Kevin that he couldn't catch him into some traffic, maybe
Pin
get
him
some
somewhere.
air off of one of those.
Well,
lap
you set
cars.
a pick. You learn how to get. As drivers, we know how to set picks and put ourselves in places to try to help. But Bowman, I'm telling you, we have said that Bowman. You said it. Bowman is a surprise at the moment. And Bowman did a brilliant job. The end of that race, they took tires. They took the chance. He came through. And if they get a caution before the white flag, Alex Bowman wins that race.
Yeah, I think he would have had a great chance. We could have very well seen a restart like what we saw with Cole Custer at Kentucky or what we saw with Austin Dillon at Texas. I think he certainly had set himself up for that. Now, the one thing about seeing a mile-and-a-half track is we're going to go back-to-back now mile-and-a-halves. And the tracks are a little bit different, but there's still going to be some similarities. I mean, we're talking about I think the guys you saw run well at Kansas are guys you're probably going to see run well at Texas. But, before we get to – we're not going to get into Texas yet. We talked weeks ago about seeing Joey Logano and the run he made in 2018 when
he won the championship. And he won the championship.
Correct. He was sort of an afterthought kind of coming into the playoffs because he had been struggling. But he started getting that momentum going into the playoffs, and then he got more momentum as the playoffs went on. And then, he won the race at Martinsville, which was not the last race before Homestead then. It was very similar to
this. It was the first race of the last round
scenario that he had at Kansas. I think if you're Joey Logano, you have got to be just brimming with confidence. And we talked about people, you want to get in on somebody early, you should have gotten in on Joey early.
I just switched pages. Logano this week now, plus 300 to win the championship. Last week, if I remember correct, he was 12-1 to win the championship.
And he was on the outside looking in. I mean, I don't necessarily know that he felt like he had to win, but I'm sure there was a part of him saying, you know what, Harvick's going to make it, Denny's going to make it, and between Chase and Brad, if I don't win, it's going to be hard to beat those guys.
And look, he was outside the cut line, but there were 2 points, 5 points, whatever it was. It was real close, what I mean? But he was not a guy saying, I have to win. He's a guy that just went out there and said, hey, I got confidence. My team's running good. We haven't talked about Penske being the juggernaut this year. They've been good. They haven't been great. They've been good. Joey Logano went out there and went, hey, I'm really good here. And he did it. He's now locked in. You missed your opportunity. He's
absolutely.
plus 300
Yeah,
now.
You missed your opportunity now.
Now
his odds are not going to get any higher.
Oh, no. They're not going to get higher. They're just going to go the wrong way. So you can still probably get him now at a deal, but not that you could have had last week. And who's the next one now, Jeff? Which one of these guys that has these long odds do you look at and say,
Well, for me, the long odds guy is Bowman, because I will not be shocked at all to see Bowman be able to go and actually win this race at Texas this week. It would not shock me.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all.
I mean, Alex Bowman ran so well in Las Vegas. He ran so well at Kansas. There's no reason why he won't run well when he gets to Texas.
And I'll do a little foreshadowing. 5th in 2019 at Texas.
And he already ran earlier this year, but
they had a crash.
Well, and the race earlier this year was a little bit strange because Ryan Blaney had completely dominated that race, and then we had that late caution when we had Quinn Half made the maneuver to come down pit road when it looked like the race was over, and Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick made a great call to stay out. And I think one thing we probably learned at Kansas last week, track position means a lot, and they're going to realize that at Texas. They realized it at Las Vegas.
Well, what they're also going to realize after that is what Alex Bowman did with that last restart with 15 to go, 12 to go.
It's about 20, almost 20 to go.
20 to go.
Close to it.
So he came in, put tires on, restarted, I believe, 12th, 13th, and in that many laps was battling for the lead.
But Joey was able to do 2 tires and managed to stay up front. And
but Bowman was there. If there's more laps, I think you learn that tires matter. I think you learn that track position matters. And there's a lot of strategies that are going to come into play at Texas that I think is going to make for us, me and you sitting here on our stools, have a great weekend to watch.
Well, and I think it's going to be one of those situations where, if we have a caution and say there's 40 to go, all right, and everybody pits, and then we have a caution with 20 to go, I don't think you're going to see very many guys pit. Because that's the way Dillon
That's how we won it the last time.
Because I think they're going to realize in 40 laps, the tires are going to make a difference. But in 20, I don't know that they believe they're going to make that much difference.
And different asphalt. Kansas definitely aged more than Texas, so that could be. So I don't disagree with you, but it's going to be sitting in people's minds, that how is it? And so it could be interesting.
Well, let's talk about the championship a little bit. Because obviously, we don't want to get too far into Texas yet. Because we've got
I want to talk a bunch about this.
On the championship. So, the one thing you and I talked about a little bit off air with Joey Logano winning, okay? Now, we know it's very plausible that Alex Bowman goes and wins this week.
Alex wins this week?
It could happen.
Chase Elliott wins Martinsville.
Or Martin Truex Jr., who already won at Martinsville earlier this year. Then suddenly, if that happens, you've got Harvick and Denny Hamlin's especially Denny Hamlin, not feeling quite as confident about your position.
After this weekend, we said this last week, and we've been saying this since they had the big three. And the year that Joey Logano did lock himself in the first race, and then the big three reigned. They all got to the championship, but Logano beat them in the championship. We've had the big two this year. Kevin, Denny. Okay, first round, Joey Logano wins. That was not part of the big two. He's in. We very plausibly could have an Alex Bowman win this weekend.
Well, second round, we had Kurt Busch win.
Yep, and we could very easily have a Martin Truex Jr., who dominated mile and a half for so long, win this weekend. There's 2 guys in. You do go to Martinsville. Chase Elliott, been phenomenal there. Martin Truex Jr., been phenomenal there. Brad Keselowski has been good there. You can end up with points mattering to Kevin and Denny. So Kevin and Denny, that thought is not lost on their race teams. They want to go win because the win locks them in. They are now sitting there going, hey, this could happen. So Rodney Childers, he's got that in the back of his mind. He knows he can't just walk through Texas and go easy. Those thoughts are there, Jeff.
Well, and the fact that we talked about the odds we had on Joey Logano last week going as opposed to this week. Well, now we're sitting out there. We got Brad Kay at plus 800.
Not bad.
Chase Elliott at 10 to 1. Truex is 25. And the reason Truex, I believe, is 25 and Alex Bowman is 60 is because I believe there's a lot of people who believe that Truex will go to Martinsville and win.
Well, there's a lot of people that know that Truex is a champion. There's a lot of people that know that Truex has been good at Texas. He's been good at Martinsville.
Especially.
He's been good at both. Mile and a half. Remember, he was the mile and a half ace.
For a while
so
there. Yep.
You got those numbers, but I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, Kurt Busch 200 to 1.
Well, Kurt's got to win this week. And Martinsville, I think he's almost already written off that he won at Martinsville way back in the day. I think
yeah,
he was
but
racing
he's not Martinsville like
not
he used to be.
Forte.
But he did win Vegas. Texas, a mile and a half. I mean, Kurt Busch isn't out of it. It's work. You want to go put $10 on Kurt Busch and have a fun,
And don't think for a second that since they left Las Vegas, they've been pointing to Texas. I mean, you and I talked to Kurt that night after the race, and he was already talking about
He's
Texas.
like, "Oh, Texas, I got a chance."
Texas is his place.
And that's so Texas is good. You can get him there. But to me, the two guys right now that huge value in, I'll give you three guys that are the huge value for a championship bet: 25, 60, and 10-1. I mean, those three guys. One of those three guys, in my opinion, is going to make this playoff, the final round. Alex, Martin, or Chase. One of those three will be one of the others in this championship hunt, in my opinion.
So do you think Keselowski's going home?
No, I just
Or do you think Denny Hamlin's going home?
I think there's a possibility that one of them could, and I think that Alex, Martin, or Chase can win one of these next two races. So you're talking 25-1, 60-1, and 10-1. You know what? That is worth it for me to put that bet on because let's say Alex Bowman does win. That's 60-1. That's going to go to 5-1, 4-1 right now.
Right now, other than betting Kevin Harvick at plus 120 to win the championship, there's a little bit of money on everybody.
No, there is. And Denny Hamlin plus 350 isn't terrible.
The fact that Denny's plus 350 and Logano is plus 300 right now is a little surprising to me. That you can get better odds on Denny.
Because
I
he's locked
understand he's
in.
not locked in.
There you go.
But that's why maybe now is the time to go get Denny Hamlin.
Now is the time to put if
it's
Denny's
not a huge return, but
if
it's
in the championship race, Denny will once it's there, if you get to Phoenix in the championship round, Denny's going to be at most 2-1.
Well, and I think a thing that we have to remember about this year that we've not had in the past years, we know when they get to Phoenix, the top four guys are going to start in positions 1 through 4.
Yes.
Which they had to qualify in the previous years, and sometimes that already threw somebody behind the 8 ball.
Well,
where guys had to work their way up through the field.
And at Homestead, it wasn't as bad. But at Phoenix, working your way through the field?
Could be a big deal.
That's much more
unless
difficult.
You fail inspection and have to go to the rear, which out anyway.
Which very
I don't know. I got to believe there's going to be a lot of meticulousness going over those cars. All right, let's talk a little bit about how you could have won a little money this past weekend at Kansas. Odds came in. Joey Logano was a winner. He was 14-1.
I did not have a good week.
No, you did not, but we'll talk about that.
Who did
later.
have a good week?
The pit crew, because the pit crew picked Alex Bowman to finish in the top 3. And speaking of which, the top 3 paid a plus 400 on Joey Logano, a plus 110 on Kevin Harvick, who came in second, and a plus 550 on Alex Bowman. It was a good return on Alex Bowman, but to me, the big return there was Joey Logano was a 14-1 favorite to win the race, and that would not have been that out of left field to have picked Joey Logano to win the race.
And we kind of said, last week that Joey was good. We thought, but neither of us were like super hot on Joey. But we did not say he couldn't. We just we're not super hot on Penske right now. So we didn't see that as a, hey, that was one we picked out. But, hindsight, of course, 2020, Joey could do it again this week. It's a mile and a half.
Well, and he was strong. And you're talking about Penske. Go back and look how many laps Penske cars led at Texas earlier this year. I mean, Ryan Blaney led 150 laps. Keselowski and Logano both led a fair amount of laps.
And speaking of last week, going back, Ryan Blaney, I believe you called him the opener before. Once again, led a ton of laps. Opener looked great and faded when it mattered. I don't know what he's got to do to change that.
Yeah, I mean, because we had the same problem last year. You got a new crew chief this year. He's got Todd Gordon up on his box. Now Joey's winning with a new crew chief, but Ryan's got Joey's old crew chief. I don't know.
I mean, they swapped them all, but it's just Ryan. Right. Ryan has so far is an
Paul Wolf is on Joey's.
Yeah, Paul's back on
Joey's. There's a championship winning crew chief too.
But you've called it right. Joey Ryan first 2 stages. Wins stages, leads laps, looks great. Something happens in that third stage where the team fades, whether it's Ryan, whether it's a pit stop, whether it's a crew chief, whatever. They just don't have the – now, I'm going to say this like I talk about Kyle Busch's Kyle Busch's, his slump, like we talked about
the Harvick slump last year, right?
I would kill to have this slump that Ryan Blaney is in. He's finishing 7th, and we're saying, oh, Ryan doesn't close very well. I mean – hello, I would love to have
when you lead the most laps in the race.
But when you've led 130 of 276 laps, hey, that does kind of look like, man, that stinks. So Ryan, once again, and didn't win his group because he was in with Joey with Group B, so that didn't win his group.
Yeah, some of the other groups, Kevin Harvick was a co-favorite with Truex. He won Group A at plus 245, and Joey winning Group B at plus 260. His teammate Keselowski was a huge favorite. You and I both kind of got burned on that group. We both picked Alex Bowman. The guy had a great run.
Hey, Alex Bowman, Finishes third.
He was
and
probably
didn't
the
win our
fastest
group.
car on the track at the end of the race. Kyle Busch, favored in Group C, and he wins Group C.
But the fact that he's in Group C to me still is.
Well, exactly. But that's he's raced to a Group C level this year. Kurt obviously blew an engine, kind of ruined his day. Group D, William Byron, another strong run there.
You and I poo-pooed William Byron last week. I believe we looked and said, Matt DiBenedetto, the way he ran at,
here in Las
Vegas, and we were really high on him, and Matt DiBenedetto should have won that group. He faded in the end, and great job, William Byron. After call out when we say somebody doesn't do well and they do well. We got to call ourselves out. William Byron showed us up.
Right. And in Group E, Christopher Bell getting a win.
Did not see that coming.
Well, Jimmy Johnson was out to lunch the whole day. Again, I mean, he's got 3 races left. I just don't see the promised land for him. And Group F, you and I both went with Chris Buescher. Had a solid run, but Stenhouse beat him out by a couple of positions there. And
definitely that was not I once again, one we got to say, we did not say anything near. I believe my quote was, that was the underdog, and it looked like that was the right bet.
Well, I said I thought there were 3 goers and 1 comer, and I was picking the comer, but Stenhouse actually held his own there. And some of the head-to-heads, some of the really fun ones that we had out there because we had such large numbers. Kevin Harvick covered that minus 150, which was a big number on a bunch of those guys. Denny Hamlin, he could not cover the 150 on Chase Elliott or on Brad Keselowski. So good wins there if you had Chase Elliott or Brad Keselowski. Also, Martin Truex Jr. had a couple of minus 150s, couldn't cover those.
I think I had Chase Elliott winning one of those. I think you guys don't remember. We need to roll the tape back.
Yeah, we can roll the tape. You picked Chase Elliott
to
beat Harvick.
I'm looking at Ann back there, and I think that she like dubbed something over. I think it was there's like deep fake going on or something.
Yeah.
I swear I said Chase Elliott.
You did say Chase Elliott, but you picked him over Kevin Harvick. Yeah. So trust me.
You know what's funny is I went back and forth. Which one do I go? And you picked Denny.
So you said you want to go
I said I'm going to go ahead.
Because you and I had already picked 2 of the same groups, which where did that get us?
Yeah.
That and a can of soup gets us a can of soup. That's about all we had there.
That and $6 gets me a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Is that how much it costs at Starbucks? I don't know.
I think it's like $9, but I mean,
I've never had a cup of coffee in my life.
What?
52 years old, never drank coffee.
You can tell a man that's never had a child in his life yet.
That's because I don't have any gray hair.
that no coffee.
No coffee, no gray hair, childless. There you go. Now, before I know we're going to talk about some of the odds at Texas. A little bit of news in racing came up this week. Eric Jones was announced as the driver on the 43. I think caught some of us by surprise.
Caught me by surprise because I was probably 60%, 70% confident that a different outcome was going to go there. And that very much surprising. So Eric Jones going over to RPM, I think that's a great grab for RPM. I think that Richard Petty Motorsports got themselves – they didn't get themselves a B-list driver. They got them a guy that was Toyota's baby, and I think they kind of Joey Logano'd him. I think they gave up just a hair too soon. But great grab for Richard Petty Motorsports.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of been a little bit of a theme. We've seen a lot of some of these younger guys – that kind of have come up through the Toyota program. We saw Eric Jones.
Well, they don't have a lot of rides.
Well, and you're exactly right. We saw that at the Xfinity Series level with Noah Gregson, Noah from Las Vegas. We've probably seen a little bit of that with Haley Deegan. She
jumped over to Ford.
Because she's moved over. So you're right. There's not a lot of positions in there. I mean, really, right now we've got the 4 Gibbs cars, and now we're going to have the 5th car with Bubba Wallace coming on next year. Which that, by the way, was a very clever logo for the race team that they unveiled today. So it's the number 23, and then it's X1, which is Denny Hamlin's 11 in Roman numerals. So I think that's pretty good.
I caught it when I saw the deal. I haven't seen the actual logo yet, but I do like the name. I think that's a very catchy, nice job on the name.
And I do believe the other part of that is they are guaranteed that they will have the number 23. Yep. So I'm sure that Jimmy Spencer will be proud to see the number 23 running around out there on the racetrack. Now, the other driver that got named, I don't think this came as a shock to us at all this week. Chase Briscoe getting the opportunity to drive. I guess it will be the number 14 unless
they've announced
it would be the number 14. Obviously, with Tony Stewart's love of A.J. Foyt.
And Chase is an Indiana boy. Indiana boy, the A.J. thing.
A.J. Foyt in the tie. So 14 is probably a big deal there.
9 wins he's at.
Is it 9?
9 or 10?
He's won. It might have been 10 after last week because he really dominated last week. Deserves it. What a whirlwind year this guy's had. I mean, he's had the best racing year of his career. Maybe had one of the worst personal situations anybody could ever go through. He and his wife. So I mean, and if you've ever been around him, My goodness. I mean, he's just a good guy.
It's so funny. He's that Indiana farm boy type thing. You know, I think people might say he once again looks a little boring or something, but you know what? Great young man, worked his tail off through an awful personal year, and has worked hard. 10 races. You know how hard it is to win one of these things? They've done 10 races. Great job for them. Great job, Chase Briscoe. Love that ad.
You know, and the great thing I also like to bring about Chase Briscoe is if you watch some of the races he's won, he's had races he's won where he's dominated.
Yep.
We had a race this year where he had to outduel Kyle Busch door to door for several laps. And then you saw the way that he ran the road course at Indianapolis and the way he ran the road course. I know he didn't beat Allmendinger at Charlotte, but in that rain.
He's proved his chops.
So there's a guy, though, who has honestly proven that he can run on any type track. He's been good on short tracks. He's been good on the road courses, good on the super speedways.
Proved that he deserves to be there. Really proud of that. And we got to mention the last piece of news. Kyle Larson reinstated for 2021. Not yet, January 1, 2021. But I don't think you and I will be surprised to hear an announcement in the near future that Kyle Larson will be back in this sport. And by the way, he didn't just dominate the world he went to race in. He made them look like a bunch of fools.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he became the Wayne Gretzky, the Jerry Rice of dirt track racing.
I don't even think that's a big enough comparison what he did.
What he did. And I think Kyle Larson, I mean, look, if you get an opportunity, go on social media, go online, read what Kyle Larson wrote.
Said the right things.
He said the right things. And if you've been around Kyle Larson is a good guy. So hopefully we'll see him back next year. Okay, and speaking of back, we'll be back on Gaughan Racing and start talking Texas.
This is Gaughan Racing, the weekly NASCAR show that gets you ready for this week's big race and more. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiNLive. Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
I'm just outside the Indeed.com studio at South Point Casino. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit. I almost forgot to read. Indeed. Yes, we are right outside the VSiN studios.
Indeed,
we are.
outside.
Indeed, we are. Here in the Grandview Lounge at the South Point Casino. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, Gaughan Racing, and we're turning our attention away from Kansas and away from the championship. We're turning our attention to Texas Motor Speedway. Eddie Gossage's place down there, you know, they always have something crazy going on and something fun going on. But they also
I miss Eddie and Kenton, by the way. Just personal note. Kenton, Eddie, if you're listening, miss you guys.
And they also, you know, are shaping up for a pretty good race this weekend. And, you know, the odds to win this week, I really kind of think we got some pretty good numbers up here. Kevin Harvick is the favorite at plus 240, but then you go to plus 450 on Denny Hamlin, plus 750 Joey Logano, which is a big leap up from where he was last week, probably because of the win at Kansas. Chase Elliott is plus 850. Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. both jump in there at 10-1. I think a lot of that on Ryan Blaney's because he did lead 150 laps here earlier this year. Brad Keselowski 11-1, Kyle Busch 15-1, and our last two playoff drivers, Alex Bowman 25-1, Kurt Busch 28-1. He's joined at 28-1 by Eric Jones. Eric Almirola is 35. William Byron is 40. Several guys at 50, Clint Boyer, Austin Dillon, who won the previous race here.
50-1. The winner this year, 50-1.
Was he 50-1 when he won? It was like 100-1 when he won.
He was bigger.
I think, yes. Jimmy Johnson and Tyler Reddick, and then Matt DiBenedetto, long shot at 66-1. I think, you know, I look at a few things here, Brendan, and I think the first thing that jumps off at me is 25-1 is a big number on Alex Bowman.
You know, I'm looking down this line, and I was trying to pick which one I was more surprised with, and Alex Bowman is one of those. Like I said, 7 races, only has the one top 5. But sometimes, you know, we talk on JVT. You and I go on the edge with JVT, you know, on every Thursday. And I always say look at the history, right? Do this stuff. Alex Bowman, you got to look at his mile-and-a-half history in the last 2 years. You know,
correct. You can't go back as filling in for Dale Jr. and all this other stuff.
You got to fill those in. And Bowman, 5th place last year in this race. Earlier this year, he had a crash, so that you know played into where his finish was. But his average running position was up in a single digit in that race. He was running well. He's run well at the mile-and-a-half.
He finished 3rd at Kansas last week. Top 5 in Las Vegas. I just like that 25-1 number.
I like that. And the other one I like, and you're going to laugh at me, even though I'm talking about a win, not just a top 3, Eric Almirola. Now, you hesitated there.
And I hesitate because somehow we went from Eric Almirola, we didn't know what he was doing, in the middle of the season thinking, oh, man, this guy is a guy could be in the final 8 for the playoffs, and now we've lost him again.
No, but he's still doing top 10s. And here's the thing. Now, okay, maybe I should talk about this more in top 3, but 7th, in his last 4 races, 8th, 7th, 2nd, and 10th. And he's led 62 and 35 laps in the last 2 races. Almirola is a different driver. Now, I'm not going to say a non-playoff guy is going to win.
Are you talking about the last 2 races overall, the last 2 races at Texas?
At Texas.
Okay, Texas.
So I'm not going to say a non-playoff guy is going to win. I'm struggling right now to say that we're going to have another Austin Dillon repeat. But if you're looking outside the playoff guys, Eric Almirola is a nice one. But in the playoff guys, the number you named right there, Alex Bowman, 25-1. Now, if Ryan Blaney led 105 laps earlier this season, 150 laps,
150 laps
in the race earlier this year, if Ryan Blaney can ever get this not the closer thing, that's a guy right there. Once again, not a playoff guy. But do you think we'll see a non-playoff guy?
Well, I don't.
Okay.
But I think one of the things with Ryan Blaney, too, is Ryan Blaney, if you also remember, was a great qualifier.
Yes.
And when we had qualifying, Ryan Blaney was always starting up front. And even after we got to having the formula, if you will,
he was still starting up front.
He was still starting up front. Well, now he can't start in the top 8. He's got to start outside the top 8. So he's not going to be out there as the opener quite as much because it's going to take him a little while to get past some guys.
The one that surprises me, Chase Elliott, plus 850. Okay. Chase Elliott early in his career at Texas, 5th, 4th, 9th, 8th, 11th, 6th. I mean, really looked pretty darn good. Last 3 races, 13th, 32nd, and 12th. So, I don't know. Chase Elliott, to me right now, not as strong on the mile and a half, maybe as
well, he looked really good in Vegas for half a race.
And then
but again, he sort of faded a little bit too. I even like the fact that you can get a plus 450 on Denny Hamlin. I mean, Denny Hamlin won one of the races in Texas in 2019. Denny has proven his mile and a half program is much better. I like
and
plus
he is
450.
not sitting on his points saying, I'm not going to worry about points. Denny Hamlin is trying to win a race.
No, and he certainly can be important if you have a situation where Keselowski or Truex were to win the race. Okay, when we come back on Gaughan Racing, we're going to start talking top 3 and break down the driver head-to-heads.
This is Gaughan Racing, the weekly NASCAR show that gets you ready for this week's big race and more. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
We partnered with the Racetrack Network to deliver VSiN on your connected TV for only $4 a month. Visit rtn.tv to learn more and download the VSiN, Roku, or Amazon Fire TV app. While you're there, check out everything the Racetrack Network has to offer. Go to rtn.tv to sign up and get the VSiN app on your Roku or Amazon Fire TV today. That's rtn.tv. I keep thinking the Racetrack Network is something you're going to buy one day or something. So.
Actually, I'd have a big screen outside, little inflatable thing. I got Racetrack Network last week because I have Roku out there so we can watch movies with the kids.
Oh, there you go.
And I because of the read, I was like, yeah, I got to find that.
Okay, you'll be an investor soon.
I got it.
Yeah, so there we go. Okay, it's back on Gaughan Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. We're talking Texas Motor Speedway, the race this weekend. We're ready to start talking about the top 3s. And,
huge number at the top.
Well, if you want to call it huge.
It's been most of the season that we haven't. I think we've only had maybe 2 races this year.
A couple of negative numbers. I think we had Chase Elliott and a negative number on the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, I think that. So it's been like 3 times.
There haven't been many, and guess what we got this week?
Yeah, but we got it for a reason, Jeff.
Kevin Harvick minus 155, and the stat man, Mr. Gaughan over here,
before we get the rest of the odds, I got to give it there. And if you believe in the number, like numerology repeating type thing, Kevin Harvick going back to 2017. 4th in the first race, won the second race. 2018, second in the first race, won the second race. 2019, 8th in the first race, 1st in the second race. 2020 now, 5th in the first race. Well,
First in the second race.
First in the second race.
So
average finish 4.1 last 10 races. Yeah, he deserves to be minus 155.
yeah, minus 155 for him, and Denny Hamlin plus 125. It's obviously the odds makers really think these two guys are going to dominate. We got Joey Logano plus 200, Chase Elliott plus 245, Blaney Truex plus 275, 300 on Keselowski, 400 on Kyle Busch, 600 on Alex Bowman, 700 on Kurt Busch and Eric Jones, and 800 on Eric Almirola. Everybody else is in double digits. I think it's very similar to talking about the odds to win, but one thing I do like, we talked in the odds to win about Alex Bowman.
Yep.
Well, Alex Bowman was plus 550 last week at Kansas.
Plus
he
600
gets
this
a top 3.
I like that.
I
600.
like that one.
Let me tell you one I do like a lot. Kyle Busch. Now, Kyle Busch is the guy last year that every other week was minus. Now, I know I'm betting the don't all season on Kyle and blah, blah, blah.
Are you ready to say the do on Kyle
Where did he
Busch?
finish last week?
Well, he wasn't in the top
five.
3. Well, it might have been top 5. Okay.
So Kyle Busch, good run last week, mile and a half, right? Very similar. Kyle Busch, in his last 10 races at Texas, goodness, I had a total brain fart there. Kyle Busch average finish 8.3, 7 top 10s, couple wins in there, but Kyle Busch plus 400 on a top 3.
I think my nervousness is this has not been the same Kyle Busch this year.
No,
as
but he's
what we've
still
been used
been
to
top
seeing.
5s, top 10s. It's not like he's fallen off the face of the earth.
That says top 3. See, he's got to finish in the top 3 to win money there, Brendan.
Listen, you haven't used the word crapshoot yet in this whole episode, okay? Don't be pointing to papers and saying those things to me that way. Wait for the crapshoot call.
No, that's done until till February the 14th, I believe.
You won't have to call it that. I'm not in it.
That's right. You won't be in it. All right. Let's move on a little bit to the driver head-to-heads because, well, while Harvick is a big minus number, he's also a big minus number on some of these. How about we can get some plus 150s on Truex, Keselowski, but it's got to be against Kevin Harvick.
And here's the thing. I struggle to believe that Kevin Harvick is not going to continue his trend at Texas of being super strong last week at Kansas. Don't tell me their mile and a half program ain't still strong. I like Kevin to be that. You're going to be hard-pressed to get me to take, even though it's Martin Truex Jr. or Denny Hamlin at plus 150, plus 135, very hard-pressed for me to get off Kevin on that.
Yeah, it almost kind of seems like Harvick has kind of gotten this, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like he just knows when to hit the accelerator a little bit more. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, look at those middle 3 races. Now, yes, he wanted to run well in Vegas because he thought that was a place he could run well. Did not have a real good race in Vegas. But I think he probably looked at both Talladega and the Roval and said, look, I know I'm through to the next round, and I'm not going to lose a whole lot of sleep over either one of these races. But when he got to Kansas,
well,
he's like, now there could be 3 upsets.
And remember how
and
mad he
I'm
was
racing
at Vegas.
Denny for the last spot.
Remember how mad he got about how bad they were at Vegas.
Right.
What did they do at Kansas? Showed what happens when you piss off Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick.
Yes.
They proved their mettle. I think you're going to see that this weekend. Now, there's one number I do like, and it's a big minus number. We've talked about Blaney being an opener, not a closer. Minus 170 Harvick, Blaney plus 150. I would jump all over that minus 170.
So you would just go take the minus 170, and
Yeah.
even though there's not a big return on that.
No, because I think that Kevin Blaney has proven that at the end, not proven, I shouldn't say proven, that's not nice to say, but we call him the opener for a reason, not the closer. Kevin is the closer, not the opener.
And you're going to do that because you're going to make me do math this week. Is exactly.
I'm just going to.
I can see what you're doing there. You know, a couple of others I kind of like in here though. I like the numbers. Logano's getting a plus 120 against Ryan Blaney, but then Alex Bowman is getting a plus 120 against Logano. And we got a couple minutes left in this segment. And as opposed to talking about this directly, I kind of want to get your opinion. What is Logano's
Mindset.
focus the next 2 weeks? How much of it is everything they're thinking about Phoenix? Because it doesn't matter if he wins or finishes last. He doesn't get any bonus points going to Phoenix. He doesn't get penalized going to Phoenix other than maybe he could start first instead of fourth.
So you're asking basically, is there a honeymoon phase, so to speak, after getting his marriage to
or
the final?
lack of focus on Texas and Martinsville and a supreme focus on Phoenix?
Look back at 2018. How did Joey Logano do after he won Martinsville?
I don't know. I guess you can probably pull that up on your racing reference.
I just happen to remember.
You've already looked it up.
No,
okay.
I remember that year because that was when we started Gaughan Racing.
Right.
And when he won, we all went, oh, my God, the big three, should they be nervous? Joey Logano followed that up with 2 top 5 finishes. He showed that he was strong going to Phoenix. I don't think we're going to see Joey get into a big honeymoon phase and say, all right. Now, is he going to put himself in a situation where he has to make is he going to make a risky move trying to get some? No.
He's not going to have a situation like he had with Matt Kenseth a few years ago in Kansas.
He's not going to let himself get wrecked and get hurt and do all that. But what he is going to do is he wants to prove that they have momentum, and I believe huge in momentum. He wants to prove that they are here to stay, and he's going to go out and try to run this race hard. He's not just going to lay over and let other people do this.
So that would not scare you away to see him at a plus 120 against his teammate Ryan Blaney. In fact, that's probably a pretty good
I like that.
Pretty good number
right
there for Logano.
For the same theory that I said about betting Harvick against Blaney, opener versus closer.
Well, but I also think you have the hunger factor when I look at the one where I was mentioning Alex Bowman at plus 120 against Joey. The hunger factor for Alex Bowman is, I mean,
he's hungry.
Absolutely.
He wants this championship round. He feels this is his best chance to win a championship. The way it ends at Phoenix at his home track, he wants it.
Well, and certainly Alex Bowman is going in with a great deal of confidence right now. Okay, we come back on Gaughan Racing. We'll have our group picks, and we'll make our picks.
This is Gaughan Racing, the weekly NASCAR show that gets you ready for this week's big race and more. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at vsinlive. Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
If you need to hire, you need Indeed. You instantly get a list of quality candidates from Indeed's resume database the moment you sponsor a job. Get started at Indeed.com/credit. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, back for our final segment of Gaughan Racing, talking Texas Motor Speedway.
Database.
What's that?
Database.
Database. I don't know. I guess
isn't that like a
tomato?
Yeah,
or
database.
I don't know. I'm from Virginia, so I mean, that's how we say it in Virginia. You're from Nevada.
I just watched Star Trek, and
it took me moving.
It took me
moving to Nevada to say Nevada. I used to say Nevada when I was a kid growing up, and I learned out here though. And now I just cringe when people say Nevada. It just So anyway, okay. We're going to talk about group matchups.
Get back on track here.
Yeah. We don't know how much time we have left in the show for this this segment, so we'll have to guess at it, I think.
We're professionals.
we
are. We can make this work.
We are. Somebody will have to tell us.
We got this.
All right, so Group A, I'm going to start with what's missing from Group A.
There's a very evident person missing from Group A.
Kevin Harvick is just so good. He is above Group A. He's in his own personal group.
He's the minus 155.
He is even money to win his
We are not putting him on Group A.
No, we are not. So, Group A, Denny Hamlin is the overwhelming favorite.
Yep.
And then you got Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, all coming in at plus 280.
Listen, I got to tell you, Martin Truex Jr., remember how strong he was a mile and a half? Texas was not one of them. Let's remember, Texas was not one of the ones he was super strong on, but he's still Martin Truex Jr. on a mile and a half. I mean,
boy. I'm telling you, I'm liking Keselowski or Hamlin a lot better than the other two in that group.
But I will go back on what I said earlier, which is Denny Hamlin does not want this to become a situation where he has to worry about pointing his way past Kevin Harvick. He is going to try to win this, and he has been phenomenal on mile and a half this year.
Yeah, I like Denny there a lot. Group B, Chase Elliott, kind of an overwhelming favorite, plus 210. Last week's winner, Joey Logano, plus 250. Alex Bowman, a guy we've talked about a lot, plus 315. Pretty long odds there. And Kyle Busch getting back up into Group B at a plus 320. Kind of goes back to what you were saying, thinking Kyle was running a little bit better. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, I think there's a little gut of me that says, man, Alex Bowman at plus 315 is a really good number.
But even a Kyle Busch at plus 320, how often do we get a Kyle Busch plus 320?
All right, and I'm not talking about history over the last several years.
I'm talking about this
I'm talking
year.
about right now. Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch are basically the same. Which one is having a better year? Which one is hotter? Which one do you think would finish ahead of the other in this race?
Oh, Alex Bowman.
Okay, see, so I think I like Alex Bowman at plus 315. And you mentioned the fact that Joey Logano, he's going to continue to fight, even though he's already locked in the plus 250. Chase Elliott, not great numbers on Chase Elliott. They're at plus 210.
I think I find a hard time saying Chase Elliott plus 210 versus Joey Logano's 250. I think Joey is hotter right now, and I believe in that Mo, and I think he wants to continue it. But I like thinking of the theory that I want us. I don't mean to say this wrongly. I would think it would be awesome for NASCAR and for our sport if we have 3 playoff winners that aren't Kevin or Denny, and it comes down to points to get them in that final round. I think it would prove NASCAR's point system, how great the new point system is, that playoff points matter, bonus points matter, and wins matter. I would love that.
So you're rooting for anybody
Chaos.
but Denny
I'm rooting
and
for
Kevin.
chaos.
You're rooting for
I'm
chaos.
rooting for chaos.
Okay, that's
I'm
fair.
not there.
All right.
And I'm as big as Dom DeLuise. I can be Captain Chaos.
There you go. All right, let's move to Group C. Our last remaining playoff driver, Kurt Busch, is in there as a co-favorite with Eric Almirola, plus 265. Not a big drop-off to Eric Jones, William Byron. Byron won his group plus 270.
And I poo-pooed him last week. I'll remind everybody that was me.
You did, but I'll tell you, I think Eric Jones has done a better job since he found he was leaving. He now knows he's got a ride for next year.
He's only got 8 races, 6 top 10s in those 8 races. A 4th, 10th, and 6th in the last 5. Eric Jones right there, average finish of 9.0 versus, I just said Eric Almirola, which I'm a fan of right now. I like that Eric Jones pick.
Yeah, I like Eric Jones there too. And it's Group D, the 2 overwhelming favorites, Matt DiBenedetto and Austin Dillon, who won this race just a couple months ago. He won Texas. And then the long shots in there, Tyler Reddick, who finished 2nd in that race to Austin Dillon, and Clint Boyer, who's pretty much riding off into the sunset here. You know, we love Clint.
I love listen. There's a picture of me and Clint doing the Lady and the Tramp for a pre.
Yeah, I think I had something to do with it.
Yeah, I really will. Clint and I will never forgive you for that. But you did have the only 2 drivers in the history of NASCAR that would sit down and put a piece of yarn in their mouths
to look like spaghetti.
Yeah, to do a Lady and the Tramp.
Yes, so I still appreciate you guys doing that.
I'm just going to take Clint just for that reason.
Well, there you know, boy, that's a tough one to me. I think the numbers on Tyler Reddick are pretty good there. And
they are, but Matt DiBenedetto has been so hot lately and doing so good. Once again, you can't go back to Matt DiBenedetto's it's so hard to go to Matty D's history because of the teams he was on. But I do like Matt DiBenedetto there, Jeff. Even though he's the favorite.
Yeah, that's a tough group for me.
Been running so well. Penske got momentum right now. I like Matt there.
All right, we're going to pay more attention to Group E than we may have ever paid to one.
We have a new record.
I'm almost trying to wonder if there's a typo, but we are going by what's on our piece of paper. Group E, Jimmy Johnson and Christopher Bell are the favorites at plus 220. Cole Custer plus 235. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is plus 510 to beat 3 guys. To beat 2 rookies and a guy who I hate to say is talking about riding off into the sunset and the sun is setting in a hurry.
Can I give the Jimmy Johnson stat?
No, I don't want to hear Jimmy Johnson's stats at Texas. I don't hear Jimmy Johnson or Matt Kenseth's
top
stats
10 point getter
at anywhere over the last 10 years.
Last 10 races, top 10 point getter. 2 wins in the last 10 races.
How about in the last 6?
Can we go back to 8?
No. So there we go. But anyway,
he's got a 5th.
5'10" on Ricky Stenhouse. Pretty amazing.
5'10" Ricky Stenhouse in a 4-man horse race. A 5'10" number. That is the biggest one we've ever seen in a group matchup.
I think we might have seen a 400 at some point.
We've seen a 4, but we've never seen a 5.
And then moving on to Group F, the Ron Flatter, Chris Buescher group is alive and well. I'm not going to mention the favorite at plus 240 because I'm tired of talking about Matt Kenseth. It's Matt Kenseth. It's in minor his contract that I got to mention. And Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth plus 240.
And Matt Kenseth's texting me right now.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just
Chris, we're not live right now. So Chris Buescher plus 270. And Bubba Wallace, getting his deal going, plus 335. Again, I really kind of like Buescher there again. But
I've been liking Buescher a lot there, a lot in this group. I think he has definitely been running the best in that group. Bubba Wallace, though, 14th in the race earlier this year there. I do think that, once again, Bubba's another guy with stats that you got to look at lately what he's been doing, and definitely been better. Last couple races for Buescher, 19th. So, you know what? I got to say, I think I like Bubba at plus 335 in that.
I think both the long shots are pretty good picks in that.
So
in
do
that
I.
one there.
Do you want me to give you the Matt Kenseth stats?
Nope.
Can I give you
Nope.
those?
I don't want
sure?
Matt Kenseth stats. I don't want Jimmy Johnson stats from the last 10 years. You want to give me stats from the last four races? Whatever.
5 races in the last 10. He's got 2020, 2017s. Those are 3 years. 16th, 4th, and 18th.
Okay.
Got a 7th and 16th.
You bet him. You go ahead.
I'm giving you the stats. That's what I do.
All right.
I give the numbers.
All right, we got about 3.5 minutes left, our final segment. So we got to talk about we don't talk very long about our picks from last week. Because
I don't want to talk about it last week.
The pit crew did very well. They did have Alex Bowman with the top 3. The pit crew came in with big winners this week. I did get one right. I did have Chase Elliott beating
I had
Martin
that circled,
Truex Jr.
but either Ann faked it and changed it, or I think I changed it just so I was different than you.
I think you did. I think you changed it to be different from me. Because Brendan did this week. He got the big old goose egg 0 on the 5.
Of course you bring that up. Could bring up the time.
But that means you get to go first. Aren't you excited to be first at something?
Wow. Man. I mean, I volunteer my time to be here with Jeff Motley, and this is the way I get treated. Goodness gracious.
I love you like a brother.
Find him on Twitter and everybody attack. Okay. So
that might happen now.
So since I am going first in the clubhouse, which I'm still, I think, after my couple weeks in a row where I had plus 12s or something, I think I'm still in the lead if we kept track, but we didn't this year. I'm going to start with, I'm taking Kyle Busch top 3. I know I've been betting the donut on Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch top 3, I like what I see there. Alex Bowman top 3. I'm riding that Bowman train with the rest of us. I think I like both those guys. I'm going to go head-to-heads and go Joey Logano plus 120 against Ryan Blaney. And I'm going to make life difficult for you. I'm going Kevin Harvick minus 170 to Blaney's plus 150. And then I scratched out in the middle of our group matchup discussion. I had Matty D in Group D and said, no, I'm jumping on the Eric Jones bandwagon in Group C.
Okay. Well, the one thing is probably going to happen. Either you and I are both going to do very well or very poorly, because you and I have 3 of the same picks. So I don't know if that means great minds think alike or knuckleheads think alike.
The way you treat me, I feel like, oh, goodness gracious.
But one I'm going different with you on, I'm actually going to take Harvick to win at plus 240. I like the plus 240 number. I am going with Alex Bowman at plus 600. I am going to go Joey Logano at plus 120 over Ryan Blaney. I'm also going to go Eric Jones at plus 270 in Group C. And I'm not going to let the plus 510 on Ricky Stenhouse go.
You're going on the plus 510.
I'm going to go.
I should have taken Christopher Bell in that group just to go head-to-head.
Yep. So I'm going to go Ricky Stenhouse. And our pit crew, will give their picks real quickly. They went Alex Bowman to win. They have Kurt Busch with the top 3. Alex Bowman with the top 3. So all of us are taking Alex Bowman with the top 3. They're also going Denny Hamlin top 3. So I guess we know who they think their 3 are going to be. And they're also going to take those long numbers on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to win. A
plus 510 in a 4-man horse race. I mean, I even though I can make an argument that I would put my money on a Christopher Bell in that group, how he's run last week in a few races here and there. It's hard to go against a 510 in a 4-man horse race. I mean, that's a heck of a number.
No, I'm with you. And so we got a few seconds left in the show. Just kind of wrap up Texas a little bit. I think we probably are expecting Harvick to win, but we're rooting for a little chaos.
I'm rooting for chaos. I think it'd be awesome to see this. We've wanted it since the Big 3 a couple years ago. Let's see where the chips fall.
Well, we saw a little chaos in the race earlier this year with Austin Dillon winning. So, okay, that's it for us on this week of Gaughan Racing. We get back next week. We'll wrap up Texas, start talking about Martinsville.
This is Gaughan Racing, the weekly NASCAR show that gets you ready for this week's big race and more. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.